Imagine you're looking at the ground, and the ground isn't staying still. In one place, giant rocks look like they've been dragged across the desert floor. But there's no sign of a trail of footprints, no machinery, no humans anywhere nearby. Just the rocks, the long scuffs in the dry surface, and a stillness that feels too perfect. In another location, perfectly shaped stone spheres sit scattered across a wild jungle, like someone dropped a set of ancient ornaments from the sky. They're too symmetrical to look accidental, but too mysterious to feel fully understood. Then there are landscapes that make you squint at reality itself. Sinkholes so deep they swallow sunlight, mountains that look bent by invisible hands, caves that hint at old worlds below the world you know. Impossible places. Earth may seem familiar, oceans, forests, deserts, mountains, but hidden across the planet are places so strange they almost feel alien. And here's the twist. Even with modern science, some of these wonders still don't come with neat explanations. Not because scientists haven't tried, because the planet sometimes refuses to be simple. Title card: Impossible Places, Geological Wonders Scientists Can't Explain. You might think Earth is a book you've mostly read, but it's more like a library with doors that are still locked. Our planet is about 4.5 billion years old. That's not just old, that's a number so massive it bends your sense of time. Over unimaginable eras, the basics happened: volcanoes erupted, mountains rose, oceans formed, continents drifted. And for most geological features, scientists have a pretty strong story. Heat, pressure, water, wind, those are the tools Earth uses again and again. But some places don't fit comfortably into the usual patterns. They're like riddles written in stone, places where researchers can't agree on the exact steps of the process, where the how is partly known, partly guessed, and partly still waiting for someone to find the missing piece. Earth's biggest mysteries are still on Earth, and today you're going to visit some of the strangest geological enigmas the planet has to offer. Each one a reminder that nature can be wildly creative, and sometimes insultingly hard to fully explain. You're in Death Valley, where the ground can feel baked by the sun like a sheet of metal. Now picture this: large rocks, some weighing hundreds of kilograms, sit on a dry lake bed, and somehow they look out of place. Not just placed, but moved, because behind them are long tracks, like brushstrokes made in dust. No one saw them shift. No one filmed a rock rolling down the sand. No one was there with a lever or a shove. For decades, scientists were baffled. Moving stones. The mystery was simple to describe, harder to solve. Rocks left trails in a dry lake bed, yet there was no confirmed eyewitness moment of movement. So how do stones move without hands? Researchers eventually found the conditions that allow it, but only rarely, and only in a narrow window of time. Here's what happens. Under the right combination of cold and unusual weather, thin sheets of ice can form on the lake bed. Then, when strong winds kick up, they don't just rattle the rocks. They slide the ice, carrying the rocks slowly across the surface, like a slow-moving conveyor belt made of winter. In your head, it might sound fast, but think again. This isn't an action movie. It's more like patience. Rocks shift millimeters at a time, then more, then suddenly you end up with trails that stretch far enough to look unbelievable. And even with the explanation, one thing still lands in your gut: watching the aftermath of motion that nobody ever truly witnessed up close. It's geology doing something that feels like magic, just with physics underneath. Now you're far from the desert. You're in Costa Rica, where the air is thick and green, and the jungle feels alive enough to hide secrets in plain sight. Scattered across the landscape are giant stone spheres, some nearly perfect circles, others massive and heavy enough to stop you in your tracks. Many are so smooth and evenly shaped that your first instinct is to assume craftsmanship on a human scale. But the question that hangs in the air is uncomfortable. Why were they made? The stone spheres, were they symbols of power, astronomical markers, tools for reading the sky, or something else entirely? Archaeologists and historians have offered theories, but there's no single answer that everyone agrees on. Some spheres were found in remote areas deep in jungle, raising even more questions about how they were transported and shaped with the technology available at the time. What makes the mystery feel extra strange isn't just the shapes. It's the feeling that the spheres are speaking a language you almost understand. like someone left you a puzzle with missing pieces, and the forest swallowed the instructions. You're heading to Antarctica, where the world is so cold it seems designed to erase color. And then color appears. On a glacier, bright red water seeps through the ice, like the planet is bleeding slowly into the snow. From a distance, it looks almost impossible, like a warning light against the pale, endless landscape. Blood falls. Scientists were baffled for years. The big question wasn't just why is it red, but how can something living, or at least something active, happen under such brutal conditions? Eventually, researchers learned the truth. Beneath the glacier is extremely salty water, rich in iron. When that iron-rich fluid is exposed to oxygen in the air, it reacts and rusts, creating that eerie blood-like color. So it's not supernatural, it's chemistry. But your brain doesn't know that at first glance. When you see red liquid crawling out of frozen ice, your mind reaches for the dramatic explanation anyway. Because sometimes nature creates a scene so convincing you almost forget it's just Earth doing what it does. Now take a breath and imagine standing on a coastline where the rocks look engineered for a puzzle game. Off the coast of Northern Ireland sits a formation called the Giant's Causeway. Thousands of hexagonal stone columns stretch across the shore like a giant staircase made of basalt tiles. And the legend is older than the science. Local folklore claim that giants built it. You can almost picture the story: giants crossing land on stepping stones, leaving behind something too perfect to be natural. The Giant's Causeway. But the scientific explanation traces it back to volcanic activity millions of years ago. Picture lava flowing, then cooling. As it cools, it shrinks. Shrinking stone doesn't just crack randomly, it breaks in patterns. In this case, the stress fractures form geometric shapes, often hexagons, because that arrangement is stable and efficient. So the engineering look, it wasn't designed by hands. It was created by heat, cooling, and the strange consistency of how rock behaves when it tightens. Still, when you see it in person or even in video, your brain struggles to accept that something so precise can emerge from chaos. Now let's go somewhere that looks like a movie set, but it's very real. In Turkmenistan, there's a giant crater that has burned continuously for decades. People call it text on screen, the door to hell. The story starts with drilling. During an accident, underground natural gas was exposed. The plan was to ignite it and let it burn out quickly. You'd think that would be the end of it. The fire would run out of fuel, the crater would settle down, and the event would become a strange footnote. But it didn't. The flame kept going. And it kept going long enough for the crater to turn into a landmark. One of Earth's most surreal images, a burning mouth in the landscape, bright even when everything else is dark. For more than 50 years, the fire has continued. So you get this weird mix of explanations and awe. Yes, it's gas and ignition, but no, you don't get the simple conclusion you'd expect from a fuel source. Nature doesn't always stop when you want it to. From space, some places don't just stand out, they look drawn. In the Sahara Desert, there's a massive circular structure known as the Richat structure, sometimes called the Eye of the Sahara. It's visible from above, almost like a target etched into the Earth's skin. Richat structure, Eye of the Sahara. At first, scientists suspected a meteor impact. A crater would explain the circle, right? But later evidence pointed away from that. Instead, researchers suggested the structure formed through geological uplift and erosion, layers of rock rising and weathering in a way that left a dramatic ring-like pattern. Still, the story isn't fully locked in, and that uncertainty is exactly why myths spread. The Eye of the Sahara has inspired theories, including claims linking it to Atlantis. Some people treat it like proof of a lost civilization. Others see it as an artistic misunderstanding of what a circular formation can naturally be. For you, the takeaway is this. Even when scientists narrow the cause, the shape itself can feel too perfect, like the planet used a compass. You've seen odd shapes on land. Now imagine the strangest version of missing ground. Under the oceans are enormous sinkholes called blue holes. From above, they often appear as deep, dark circles, almost glowing with that deep ocean blue. Then, as you go down, the color shifts and disappears. Light becomes thin. The water starts to feel endless. Some blue holes descend hundreds of meters into the darkness. Underwater blue holes. When scientists explore these underwater caves, they find more than empty space. They uncover ancient fossils, evidence of life from long ago, and unusual ecosystems adapted to harsh conditions. It's like stepping into a time capsule buried beneath the sea. And here's the kicker. Some blue holes are only partially explored. In many cases, the deepest parts are too dangerous, too remote, or too difficult to reach. So there's still a chance that at the bottom, where pressure and darkness intensify, there are secrets nobody has seen yet. You can't help but wonder what's waiting in that final stretch of depth. A relic of Earth's distant past? A hidden species? Or just more clues that rewrite what you thought you knew about how these underwater caves formed? These geological wonders don't just entertain you, they teach you something bigger. They remind you that Earth is still full of mysteries, even after centuries of discovery. Even when you think you understand how mountains rise, or how water shapes rock, the planet has surprises ready. And the surprises aren't always random. They're often tied to rare conditions, slow changes, or processes that happen on timescales you can't easily picture. Death Valley's moving stones, Costa Rica's stone spheres, Antarctica's red trickle of blood, basalt columns shaped by cooling lava, a gas crater that keeps burning far past what anyone expected, a circular desert pattern visible from space, and blue holes that may still be holding secrets in the dark. Science explains most things, but not everything. Every year, researchers uncover new clues. They refine theories, test samples, run simulations, and challenge old assumptions. But for these places, the final answer can still be out there, somewhere between evidence and mystery. And that's the part that makes you feel connected to the world. Because Earth isn't static, it's active, evolving, and occasionally weird enough to keep you curious. Right now, somewhere on Earth, another geological mystery may be waiting to be discovered, hidden beneath oceans, buried beneath deserts, or concealed deep inside unexplored caves. The greatest geological wonder may not have been found yet, because despite all our technology, we've only explored a fraction of the planet. And sometimes the most impossible places aren't impossible at all, they're just unknown. So the next impossible place you see might not be a myth, it might be real. And it might change how you understand Earth entirely. Subscribe to Infinity Explained for more Earth mysteries, geological wonders, science documentaries, ancient mysteries, and universe discoveries. Text on screen. Which geological wonder amazed you the most? Now tell me which one stuck with you the most. The moving rocks, the stone spheres, the blood-red glacier, or something else entirely?